Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today is Saturday, February 21, 2026, and we are deep into the first quarter of the year.
We really are.
And I have to say, looking at the absolute mountain of research we have on the desk today,
It's a heavy stack.
it is. We've got reports from Digital, Kantar, Verndale, some really heavy technical breakdowns from MongoDB and Comprise, and the overall vibe out there in the marketing world feels, well, it feels significantly different than where we were exactly a year ago.
Different is putting it mildly. I mean, it feels like we're on a completely different planet.
Right. Think about it. February 2025. That was the year of just absolute unadulterated chaos.
The throwing spaghetti at the wall era.
Exactly. Every brand I knew was just shouting into the void, panic buying AI tools they didn't really understand, and then wondering why their ad spend was skyrocketing while their engagement metrics were cratering.
Yeah, it felt frantic.
Frantic is the word. It felt like everyone was terrified of being left behind, so they were just running in circles.
Well, it was frantic because it was the absolute peak of the AI hype cycle. Everyone prioritized speed over strategy. But, looking at the data we have today across all these sources, 2026 is shaping up to be the year of stabilization.
Stabilization. That sounds almost boring compared to all the chaos of last year.
I wouldn't say boring. I'd call it a search for truth. If 2025 was all about generating noise, 2026 is about finding the signal. Because we are seeing this really intense tension in the market right now.
Like a tug of war.
Exactly. On one side, you have the machines. Extreme automation, synthetic data, AI agents that are actually authorized to buy products.
Which is a concept we are going to spend a lot of time on today because the idea of a robot with a credit card is just wild to me.
It is wild. But on the other end of that rope, you have this desperate, almost visceral craving for real human connection. People are sick of the noise.
The slop.
Right, the slop. They want empathy. They want micro-communities. They want to know there is a pulse on the other end of the transaction.
So that is our mission for this deep dive. We are going to unpack exactly how marketing has evolved from just generating that noise to actually curating value for you. We're going to look at this new customer who isn't even a human being.
The rise of the machine customer.
And we are going to open up the black box of algorithms. We're talking TikTok retention metrics in 2026, the bias hidden in fashion AI, and how your data infrastructure is actually your most valuable asset.
We've got platform specifics from Sprout Social and Soundverse, ethical deep dives from IBM. It's a lot.
Let's get right into it. Section 1, the Great Shift. I want to start with what feels like the biggest hangover from 2025, this sudden realization that building your business on rented land was just a terrible idea.
It's the lesson that cost everyone a lot of money to learn.
Yeah.
The data from Digital puts it pretty starkly. Ad costs didn't just creep up over the last few years, they spiked. We saw Google CPCs cost per click climb nearly 40% over a 3-year period.
40%. I mean, that crushes your margins.
It destroys them. That is the difference between a profitable quarter and having to do a round of layoffs.
And it wasn't just the cost, right? It was the unpredictability of it all.
Exactly, the volatility. You could have a winning strategy on social media 1 month, a platform update rolls out, and suddenly your reach just falls off a cliff. Trust plummeted because marketers realized that the landlord, whether that's Meta or TikTok or Google, could just change the locks whenever they wanted.
So the smart money in 2026 is moving back to owned channels. But I want to be clear here because when we say owned channels, we aren't just talking about, spamming people with daily newsletters. Because my inbox is already a disaster zone.
No, definitely not. And that's a crucial distinction in the Digital research. They are calling these activation engines now.
Activation engines. Sounds fancy. What does that actually mean in practice?
It's about changing the direction of the conversation. Historically, email and SMS were broadcast channels. The brand speaks to the customer, basically saying, here is a coupon, please buy this thing. The shift now is talking through customers, not just to them.
Talking through them. Give me an example of that.
Think about referral programs, but not the clunky copy this link and email your dad kind that nobody actually uses. We're talking about dynamic, integrated ecosystems and offer like 20% for them, 20% for you that lives natively inside the communication channel.
Oh, I see. So you are turning your current customer into your distribution network.
Exactly. You aren't paying a tech platform for a new lead. You are empowering your existing fan to go get that lead for you. It lowers your acquisition costs and increases loyalty at the exact same time.
The tech has to actually support that seamlessly, or people just won't do it.
Right, which brings us to the rise of RCS.
RCS, Rich Communication Services. I feel like this is an acronym that's been threatening to take over for years. Is it finally happening?
In 2026, yes, it's here. Think of RCS as mobile messaging finally growing up. For the longest time, SMS was just text. Maybe you get a blue link if you're lucky.
Yeah, tiny link that takes forever to load.
Exactly. RCS brings app-like functionality directly into your text thread.
So I don't have to download an airlines app just to check into my flight?
No download needed. You get a text, but inside that text bubble, there are buttons, there are swipeable carousels of products, high-res images, even native payment processing.
Inside the text thread.
Right inside the thread. It bridges the gap between an annoying text message and a genuinely useful utility. It removes friction. And in 2026, friction is the absolute enemy.
That makes a lot of sense. If I have to click a link, wait for a mobile browser to load, remember my password and log in, I am probably just going to close the window. But if I can tap a buy button right next to a picture of some shoes in my messages,
That's very dangerous for your wallet.
it really is. Okay, so that's the mechanics of it. But there is a very human, emotional side to this economic shift, too. We have this term from the Kantar report that I absolutely love, but it's also kind of heartbreaking. Treatonomics.
Treatonomics, yes.
It sounds like a fun concept, like treating yourself,
Yeah.
but it's actually a response to a pretty grim economic reality, isn't it?
It is. We're looking at a consumer base where the traditional major milestones, buying a house, paying for a big wedding, getting a new car, those feel completely out of reach for a lot of people right now.
The goalpost just kept moving.
And move to a different stadium entirely. But here is the psychology behind Treatonomics. People still need joy. They still fundamentally need to feel like they are progressing in their lives. So if they can't save for the down payment on a house, they just stop saving for the house. And instead, they focus on inch stones.
Inch stones instead of milestones. I really love that phrasing.
Yeah, it's brilliant. Inch stones are small, attainable joys, really expensive luxury lipstick, a specialty coffee subscription, maybe a premium digital skin for a character in a video game. The Verndale and Kantar predictions highlight the shift explicitly. People are weary of noise and they want comfort. Brands have to stop selling the big dream because, frankly, the big dream feels fake right now. Brands need to start acting as joy creators in every day.
So if I'm a brand, I shouldn't be marketing this massive lifestyle of the rich and famous. I should be marketing the idea that this specific product will make your Tuesday morning commute slightly less terrible.
Essentially, yes. And this changes how loyalty programs work, too. It's moving away from the old model of collecting points for 3 years just to get a free tote bag.
Nobody wants the tote bag.
Nobody wants it. Now it's about priced value. Brands are treating loyalty like a paid product with tangible, immediate ROI. Consumers want to feel the benefit right now because the long-term future feels so uncertain.
That makes total sense. Like, I might not be able to afford the mortgage at current rates, but I can definitely afford this premium latte, and holding this cup makes me feel like I have some control over my day.
Exactly. It's exerting agency over the small things when you lack agency over the big things.
Okay, so that is the human side of the equation, buying lipstick to cope with the housing market. But while humans are doing that, there's a whole other type of customer emerging, one that doesn't have feelings, doesn't care about your joy, and never sleeps.
Welcome to Section 2.
The rise of the machine customer. Dot Digital and Kantar are both flagging this as a massive critical shift. We're entering the era of B2R, business to robot.
It sounds like science fiction.
It really does, B2R.
It is happening right now, and we really need to distinguish this for you listening. We aren't just talking about a human asking a chatbot to summarize a recipe. We are talking about true AI agents.
Right, let's define agent for a second.
Yeah.
Because I feel like people use chatbot and agent interchangeably, but technically they're very different tools.
Very different. A chatbot is fundamentally passive. It waits for you to type something and then it responds. An AI agent is an active participant. It has agency. The scenario the research paints is fascinating. Imagine a user tells their AI agent, find a birthday gift for a 10-year-old who loves space. My budget is $50 and I need it delivered to this address by Friday.
And the agent doesn't just spit out a list of Google links.
No. The agent actually goes out and researches. It scrapes multiple e-commerce sites. It compares prices across vendors. It reads the customer reviews to ensure the toy isn't going to break in 5 minutes. It checks the logistics and shipping times against your Friday deadline. And crucially, it executes the purchase.
Wait, it actually buys it. It has your credit card.
In many of these emerging frameworks, yes. Or at least it has authorization from you to spend up to a pre-approved limit.
So here is the million-dollar question for anyone in marketing. Does that AI agent care about my beautiful, emotional 2-minute Super Bowl commercial? Does it care about my brand's heritage?
Not even a little bit. And that is the terrifying part for traditional brands. Agents care about logic. They care about data structure. They care about delivery speed and exact specifications.
No empathy.
Zero empathy. If your data isn't perfectly clean-like, if your shipping times aren't explicitly clear in the metadata of your website, or if your return policy is buried in a PDF that the bot can't easily parse, you are invisible.
You are literally ghosted by the algorithm.
You don't exist. You could have the absolute best product on the market, but if the machine cannot read your value proposition in code, the machine customer won't buy it. This is exactly why the sources from Content Stack are placing so much emphasis on this idea of context engineering.
Okay, let's pause on that term. Context engineering, is that different from prompt engineering? Because I feel like everyone just spent the last 3 years taking courses on how to write the perfect prompt. Are you telling me that skill is already obsolete?
It's not obsolete, but it's becoming insufficient. Content Stack actually argues that relying on prompts is a sign of a lazy system.
A lazy system.
Yeah, expecting the user to write a perfect, detailed paragraph just to get a good answer is a bad user experience. Context engineering is about designing the entire system around the AI so it already knows what to do.
They used a construction analogy in the report that I found really helpful for this.
Oh, right, the builder analogy. So prompt engineering is like handing a builder a blueprint and just saying, good luck, go build the house.
Which usually ends badly.
Right. Context engineering is giving them the blueprint, but also delivering the lumber to the site, hiring the electrician for them, checking the local zoning laws, and providing a history of the soil on the land.
So you are preloading the AI with all the tools, the history, and the brand rules it needs to succeed before it even tries to formulate an answer.
Exactly. It's moving us from rules-based personalization to reasoning-based personalization.
Reasoning-based. Give me an example of how that actually looks in the wild.
Okay, let's look at e-commerce. Rules-based personalization is very simple logic. If the user buys a tent, show them an ad for a sleeping bag.
Right. If X, then Y.
Exactly. Reasoning-based personalization is much deeper. It says, you bought a tent. The system then checks the real-time weather forecast for your specific zip code and sees it is going to rain this weekend. It checks its own warehouse inventory and sees they are overstocked on heavy-duty tarps.
Oh, wow.
So the AI dynamically reasons that you need a tarp immediately to protect your new tent from the rain, and it automatically offers you a personalized discount on that tarp.
That is a massive leap. It's inferring a real-world need based on external context, not just looking at what you clicked on yesterday.
Right. And doing that requires a level of data maturity that, frankly, a lot of companies are still really struggling with.
It does. But for you listening, the major takeaway here is that technical literacy is no longer optional if you want creative success. You have to understand how the machine thinks if you want the machine to buy your product.
Precisely. We are moving past search engine optimization. You're optimizing for AIO, now artificial intelligence optimization.
And there's an impact on the workforce too, right? Digital mentioned the resurgence of the generalist.
Yes, the AI generalist workforce. Because AI closes the technical skills gap, one person can now handle strategy, content creation, and data analysis.
So the skill isn't just doing the one specific thing anymore.
No, the skill is understanding how all the things fit together into a system.
Which is a perfect segue into Section 3,
Yeah.
the content crisis. Because if the robots are buying things, they are also creating things. And apparently, a lot of what they're creating is just garbage.
The slop.
I really love that term, slop. It's so visceral. It sounds like something they serve in a dystopian cafeteria.
It does. The term actually comes from a Futurism article referencing a study on AI training models. They found this really dangerous feedback loop.
What happens in the loop?
Well, if you train an AI model on content that was generated by other AIs, the outputs begin to drift.
Drift toward what?
Toward visual elevator music.
Wow, visual elevator music.
Right. Yeah. The images become bland, generic, perfectly average. All the rough edges get sanded off. The weirdness, the human spark, it just disappears. The researchers actually call it model collapse.
So if every brand is using the exact same underlying models to write their blog posts and generate their social media images, the internet just turns into this beige wall of total sameness.
Homogenization. And that creates a massive strategic risk because if your brand sounds exactly like the AI, you sound exactly like your competitors.
Right.
So the counter movement to this, according to the sources, is that brands need to heavily incentivize deviation from the norms.
You have to be weird. You have to break the pattern to prove you are a human.
Exactly. You have to be genuinely interesting.
Which brings us to the ultimate pattern recognition machine, TikTok. We have some really granular data from Sprout Social and Opus Clip about how the TikTok algorithm is functioning in 2026, and it sounds harder than it has ever been to go viral.
The bar has been raised significantly. The old rules don't apply.
Because it used to be the 3-second rule, right? You had 3 seconds to hook someone's attention before they scrolled away.
Now they're talking about the qualified view. It's a 5-second rule.
Okay, what makes a view qualified?
The algorithm is no longer just looking for a view count, because an autoplay essentially counts as a view. It is looking for active, intentional engagement. Specifically, the data shows that saves and shares are weighted significantly heavier than likes.
Because a like is just a passive double tap. But a save means this is valuable information and I want to put it in my folder to come back to later.
Exactly. A save signals a high intent to return to the platform. And here is the real kicker for 2026. TikTok is fully operating as a search engine.
Right.
The algorithm actively analyzes your written captions, the text you put on the screen, and the actual spoken words in the video for SEO categorization.
Wait, so it is transcribing everything I say in real time?
Yes. If you just point your camera at yourself and dance to a trending audio track but you don't actually say anything, the algorithm doesn't know how to categorize that content effectively. But if your video answers a highly specific question like how to fix a leaky kitchen faucet and you speak those exact words, you will rank high in search results for months.
I saw a term in the Sprout social notes that gave me anxiety just reading it. The 200-view jail.
Oh, yes. I think a lot of creators know this pain very well.
What is happening mechanically when you get stuck in jail?
It's the algorithm's testing ground. When you post a new video, TikTok shows it to a seed batch of about 200 people.
Just to test the waters.
Right. If that initial test group doesn't generate a high enough percentage of qualified views, meaning they didn't watch past the 5-second mark and they didn't share or save it, the algorithm basically assumes the content is slop.
And it just kills the reach.
It stops distributing it entirely. You are stuck at 200 views forever.
Brutal. So how do you break out of jail? The Opus Clip report provided some actual formulas for hooks, right? The science of the hook.
Yes, let's break a few of those down. The first one is the bold statement.
Okay, how does that work?
This is about challenging conventional wisdom immediately. You do not start your video with, "Hi guys, welcome back to my channel."
Because that's dead air.
Total dead air. You start with something aggressive like most content creators are actively killing their own reach.
Boom. It creates instant tension. If I'm a creator, I have to know why I'm killing my reach.
Right. It opens a curiosity gap. Another very effective one is the proof first hook.
Showing the result before you show the process.
Exactly. Humans are naturally skeptical. So instead of starting with step 1, you start with the end result. You say, I grew this brand new account to 50,000 followers in exactly 90 days.
And then you explain how you did it.
Because if you show the undeniable proof in the first 2 seconds, you buy yourself the audience's patience to explain the long, boring method.
I noticed they also mentioned something called the pattern interrupt. What is that?
That's visually or audibly breaking the scroll flow, doing something unexpected. But the major caveat from Opus Clip is that the interrupt must be relevant to the content.
So I can't just flash a picture of a screaming clown to get your attention and then calmly start talking about tax accounting.
No, because that is just pure clickbait. And the qualified view metric will actively punish you when the viewer clicks off after 4 seconds because they realize they've been tricked. It has to be a relevant surprise.
It's an incredibly high bar. You have to be visually interesting, highly relevant, audibly searchable, and hook them, all in under 5 seconds.
While simultaneously fighting against a tidal wave of AI-generated slop.
No pressure at all.
None. Just perfect execution every time.
Okay, let's go a bit deeper into the plumbing of all this. We've talked about the surface layer, the content, the social feeds, the hooks. But Section 4 is really about the invisible backbone of all of this. Unstructured data.
This is the stuff that is keeping chief technology officers awake at night. The numbers from Comprise and MongoDB are staggering. They estimate that 80 to 90% of all data within an enterprise is unstructured.
80 to 90%. Let's define that for the listener. What exactly makes data unstructured?
It's basically everything that doesn't fit neatly into the rows and columns of an Excel spreadsheet. So we are talking about raw video files, audio recordings from Zoom meetings, massive chat logs with customer service reps, sensor data from manufacturing equipment, hundreds of thousands of PDF documents, emails. It has no formal schema.
So for a long time, historically speaking, all this stuff was just sitting there doing nothing, like dark data.
It was essentially digital hoarding. Companies paid to store it on servers, but it provided zero actionable value. But here, in 2026, this unstructured mess is actually the primary fuel for modern AI.
Because the AI can finally read it.
Exactly. And this is where we get into the heavy tech. Vector search and RA.
RAG, Retrieval Augmented Generation. We hear this acronym thrown around constantly. Can you unpack what it actually does?
Sure, let's break it down with a practical example. Imagine you ask a standard off-the-shelf AI model like a base version of ChatGPT a highly specific question about your company's internal return policy for damaged goods.
Okay.
That model hasn't memorized your specific employee handbook, so it might hallucinate an answer based on general internet knowledge about what a return policy usually looks like.
Right. Takes a very educated guess, which might be legally wrong for your company.
Exactly. RA fixes that. RA allows the AI system to first retrieve the exact specific answer from your unstructured data, meaning it finds the actual PDF policy document on your server, and then it generates the answer based only on that retrieved fact.
But how does it actually find the right paragraph in a 500-page PDF document? That's the search part of it, right?
Yes. That is where vector search comes in. It's fascinating math. It turns your text into numbers, vectors.
Okay, stick with me.
So concepts that are similar in meaning have numbers that are plotted close together in a multidimensional mathematical space. So the word damaged and the word broken would be physically close together in the database.
I see. So it isn't just doing a dumb keyword search like hitting Control-F. It's searching for the underlying meaning of the question.
Correct. It finds the mathematical meaning of your question, matches it to the mathematical meaning buried on page 412 of your PDF, retrieves that specific chunk of text, feeds it to the language model, and basically says, answer the user's question using only this chunk of information.
Wow. So it stops the AI from lying to you.
It grounds the AI in absolute truth. It finally allows you to chat securely with your own proprietary data. And that is why organizing this massive, unstructured mess is suddenly the #1 technical priority for businesses right now.
And then there's the flip side of this data conversation, which is synthetic data. Kantar is talking a lot about using fake data to get real insights, which, on its face, sounds completely counterintuitive.
It does sound like an oxymoron, fake data for real truth. But think about the sheer speed of business today. Running a traditional global in-person focus group takes months and costs an absolute fortune.
Yeah, you have to recruit people, rent a facility, pay them.
Right. Synthetic data allows you to bypass all that by creating digital twins of your specific customer segments.
Digital twins. So I can simulate how a 35-year-old working mother in Chicago might react to a brand new soda flavor without actually having to find her and ask her.
Yes. Because you build a simulation based on all the historical, behavioral, and demographic data you already have on that exact persona. And here's the crazy part. Kantar claims this synthetic data boosting is achieving 94 to 95% accuracy compared to ground truth.
Ground truth meaning what happened when they actually launched it in the real world.
Exactly. It matched real-world results with 95% accuracy.
That is wild. It means you could fail thousands of times in the simulation, so you don't have to fail once in the real market.
Precisely. It allows for rapid, massive iteration without the financial cost of real-world failure.
But this heavy reliance on data brings us directly into Section 5, the ethical frontier. Because if we are training all these models on historical data, we really have to talk about what is actually inside that data.
Yes, we do. Because data is not neutral.
Right. IBM and the Sustainability Directory have some really sobering insights on this. Algorithms inherit the biases of their creators, but more importantly, they inherit the biases hidden inside their training data.
The fashion industry example in the report really stood out to me.
Yeah, let's talk about that. It's a very stark example of how this goes wrong.
You have these advanced AI recommendation engines that consistently favor and promote thin, white models. Now, it isn't because the AI itself is inherently prejudiced in a human emotional sense. It is a volume issue. The vast majority of the historical training images in the dataset it learned from are of thin, white models.
Because that's what the industry predominantly produced for decades.
Right. So the AI just assumes that is what correct looks like.
So the AI essentially creates this infinite feedback loop. It sees thin models in the data. It recommends thin models to the user. The brands see the users clicking on thin models, so they buy more imagery of thin models, and the cycle just reinforces itself forever.
It does. It completely marginalizes sustainable, inclusive options because they aren't statistically dominant in the training set. And it gets even darker. There is a concept discussed called data colonialism.
Data colonialism. That is a very heavy term.
It is. It refers to the practice of extracting massive amounts of data from marginalized communities, their personal images, their cultural art, their behaviors, and using that data to train highly profitable AI models, but returning zero economic benefit back to those communities.
So it's basically extraction without compensation.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And we see real-world harms from this constantly. Facial recognition technology consistently failing on darker skin tones because the training data lacked diversity, or algorithmic pricing models that end up charging higher interest rates to people in specific non-white neighborhoods based on historical redlining data.
Right. So the big question for 2026 isn't just can we technically build this tool? The question is, should we build it, and who is it going to hurt if we do?
Ethics has to be built into the architecture, not just added on as an afterthought.
And there is a moderation side to this ethical frontier, too, especially when it comes to copyright and authenticity. Soundverse and major platforms like YouTube and Meta are currently fighting a massive war against the flood of AI-generated music.
Yeah, the moderation challenge is enormous. Because if I upload a brand new song to a platform today, how do you actually know that I sat down with a guitar and made it?
Or how do you know if I just prompted an AI to clone Drake's voice and generate a beat?
Exactly. So we are seeing the rollout of what they call trust layers and audio watermarking. Soundverse has a proprietary technology called Trace.
How does Trace work?
It essentially embeds a cryptographic watermark directly into the audio file itself when the AI generates it. It is completely inaudible to the human ear, but when it's uploaded, the platform's scanners can read it instantly.
Okay, but what if someone uses an AI that doesn't embed a watermark? The platforms are actively listening for it too, right?
Yes, YouTube has developed something called behavioral listening.
Behavioral listening. That sounds intense.
It is. It analyzes the timbral evolution and the lyrical structure of the song. Basically, it asks, does this song breathe like a real human played it? Does it have the natural imperfections of a physical instrument? Or is it mathematically perfectly precise in a way that signals a machine generated it?
That is fascinating. It's literally an algorithm listening for the soul in the music.
Yeah. And Meta is using provenance analysis, which scans the hidden file headers, while TikTok has an authenticity scoring system to check if a sound is an unauthorized clone.
And the overarching goal here, at least what the platforms claim in the reports, isn't to outright ban AI-generated content.
No, you can't put the genie back in the bottle. The goal is to attribute it correctly. The phrase they use is, transparency fosters trust. If a piece of media is AI, just label it as AI so the consumer knows what they're looking at.
Which brings us perfectly to the practical, strategic application of all this, Section 6. The strategy showdown. We've covered all this incredible technology, all these ethical minefields, the new algorithms. If you are a brand listening to this, who do you actually hire to help you navigate it?
This is the great agency debate of 2026. Meta breaks the current landscape down into three distinct camps. First, you have the traditional agency model.
The classic Mad Men-style agencies.
Right. They come with a very high cost. We are talking $5,000 to $50,000 monthly retainers. They are slow-moving. It might take them 6 to 8 weeks just to launch a single campaign, but they have incredibly high brand EQ.
Emotional intelligence.
Yes. They deeply understand emotional resonance, storytelling, and building long-term, durable brand equity over years.
Okay, and then you have the challengers, the AI marketing agencies.
The speed demons. They operate at 30 to 50% lower base costs than traditional shops. They can launch a full campaign in 1 to 2 minutes. But they are obsessively focused on the math, CPA cost per acquisition, and RAS return on ad spend.
But maybe they are lacking the soul, the brand EQ.
Sometimes, yes. They are absolutely fantastic for pure e-commerce plays and scaling volume quickly, but maybe not great for building a beloved lifestyle brand, which is why the emerging winner in the market seems to be the hybrid model.
Taking the best of both worlds.
Exactly. Using AI agents for all the heavy grunt work, the SEO research, processing the unstructured data, generating 50 slightly different variations of ad copy for A/B testing, but keeping actual humans in the loop for high-level strategy, cultural nuance, and empathy.
Let's look at some real-world, best-in-class examples of who is actually executing this correctly right now.
Yeah.
SEO.com provided a great list.
Amazon Rufus is probably the biggest one to watch.
Rufus, that's the generative shopping assistant we touched on earlier.
Yes, it is fully integrated into the Amazon app. It is expected to drive $700 million in incremental sales this year.
700 million. So that is not just a cute tech demo. That is a massive revenue stream.
It's a core business driver.
And what about Coca-Cola? Their Create Real Magic campaign was highlighted.
This was a brilliant move. They actually let regular users play with their highly guarded brand assets, the iconic logo, the contour bottle shape, the polar bears, using GPT-4 and DALL-E to generate their own art.
Which is usually a trademark lawyer's absolute worst nightmare. Don't let the public touch our logo.
Right. Usually brands are terrified of losing control. But Coke flipped the script. They democratized the creativity, and as a result, they generated over 300 million organic impressions. They essentially turned their entire audience into their creative agency.
I love that. And I also love the Heinz ketchup example in the report. Draw ketchup.
It was so incredibly simple. They just asked an AI image generator to draw ketchup. And because Heinz has completely dominated the global visual culture of what ketchup looks like for a century, the AI almost always drew a glass bottle that looked exactly like Heinz.
It proved absolute brand dominance without spending a single dollar on traditional media. The message was just, even the robot knows we are the only real ketchup.
Exactly. And then you look at a brand like Sephora.
Oh yeah, their virtual artist tool.
They are using facial recognition for virtual makeup try-ons combined with AI chatbots that handle routine customer service. It reduced their customer response times by 40% while actually increasing satisfaction scores.
And Nike's doing something similar with product design, right? The AR project, Athlete Imagined Revolution.
Yes, using generative AI to design hyper-personalized prototype shoes based on massive amounts of specific athlete performance data. They are moving the paradigm from mass production to mass personalization.
It's absolutely incredible. We have covered so much ground today, from the death of rented land and the rise of the B2R robot shopper, all the way to the deep ethics of algorithmic bias and data colonialism.
It is a massive amount of information to process.
It really is. So let's bring it all home. If you are listening to this right now and you are feeling maybe a mix of excitement and a creeping dread of, oh my God, I'm so far behind, what is the ultimate synthesis of all this research?
I think the central grounding lesson of 2026 is that we are finally moving past the initial panic phase. We are past the let AI take the wheel and hope for the best phase. We are officially entering the era of authentic automation.
Authentic automation. I like that.
It means intentionally using the machine to do the heavy lifting, the data sorting, the vector searches, the pattern recognition, the context engineering. You let the machine do what machines are good at so that the human can finally focus on the meaning.
The why behind the campaign.
Yes. For anyone who identifies as a lifelong learner listening to this, the critical takeaway is that you cannot ignore the technical side anymore.
Right.
You have to understand how the underlying model works. You need to know what RAG is. You need to know exactly how the TikTok algorithm weights a save versus a like. Technical literacy is the fundamental price of entry for creative freedom right now.
You can't just be the ideas person sitting in a room if you don't understand the literal pipes that deliver your idea to the consumer.
Exactly. The pipes dictate what is possible.
Well, I have one final thought I want to throw at you before we wrap. Bit of a provocation for you listening to mull over.
Let's hear it.
We talked heavily about treatynomics earlier, the idea of humans desperately buying small joys for emotional comfort. And we also talked about logic, the AI agents executing purchases based strictly on structured data and delivery times.
Yes. The two ends of the spectrum.
So does this ultimately mean that modern brands essentially need to develop split personalities? Do we need to build one face of the company that is deeply emotional, warm, chaotic, and human for the people? And then a completely different secondary face that is cold, perfectly structured, and strictly data-rich for the AI assistants?
That is the multi-million-dollar question for the next decade. Are we optimizing our businesses for the human heart Or are we optimizing for the API?
Or can we somehow manage to do both simultaneously without losing our corporate minds?
I suspect the companies that survive will have to figure out how to do both, but it is going to be a very messy, fascinating process to watch unfold.
Well, on that note, we're going to leave you to mull that over. Please make sure to check the show notes for links to all of today's source material. The Digital report, Kantar, Comprise, HashMeta, all of it. There is so much more granular detail in those reports than we could possibly cover in this hour.
It is definitely worth a deeper read.
Thank you so much for taking this deep dive with us today. Keep learning, keep adapting, and we will see you in the future.